Yet another reason that we're not able to route traffic between a couple of VLANs on a switch configured with SVIs might be because we don't have any ports in that VLAN represented by the SVI. We don't have any ports that are in the forwarding state. Think about a physical interface on a router. You can do a show IP interface brief on a router, and it will tell you if an interface is in the up state. Well, that's going to tell you if we're up at layer 1 and if we're up at layer 2. Those are measurable things on a physical interface on a router, but here we're dealing with an SVI. We're dealing with this virtual entity. How can it be up at layer 1 and up at layer 2? Well, let's think about that. First up, what's the symptom? The symptom is I'm not able to communicate between my VLANs. I'm trying to do a ping between these two VLANs. The ping fails. I do a show IP interface brief, and I see that I am not in the up state for one of my VLANs. What could be going on here? Well, here's the thing with an SVI to understand. With an SVI to be in the up state, there has to be at least one port that's a member of that interface or a member of that VLAN represented by the SVI. We have to have at least one interface that's a member of the VLAN that is in the forwarding state. That means that number one, we could have a physical port on that switch that belonged to VLAN 700 as an example, and we've got a PC plugged into that interface, that port on the switch, and it's up. That's enough for the SVI to be up. But the thing that's not as obvious is I could even have a trunk port. As long as a VLAN is allowed over that trunk, then the corresponding SVI will be in the up state. Let me prove that to you. If we go out to the live interface again, and I do a show VLAN brief, you're going to see that I have a VLAN that I created called accounting. It's empty. It doesn't have any ports that belong to VLAN 700. However, if I do a show IP interface brief, we're going to see that VLAN 700 is still in the up state. How is that possible? Because it has no ports. It has no ports. However, if I do a show interface trunk command, you'll see that VLAN 700, it is allowed over our trunk. That alone is sufficient for the corresponding SVI to be in the up state. Something that's not terribly obvious. Another issue that we could have is simply as, could be something as simple as the interface, the SVI interface is administratively shut down. This is not as likely to happen with an SVI as it is a physical interface on a router, because a physical interface on a router, it defaults to the administratively shut down state. That's not the case with an SVI. When we dynamically create an SVI on a switch, it's up, or it's administratively up anyway, and if it's shut down, it's something we probably did to shut it down. If it does get shut down, though, we can see that with the output of the show IP interface brief command, and we can go into interface configuration mode, and we can administratively bring that up. Let's take a quick look at that. I can do a show IP interface brief command. In fact, let's put one in the shutdown state. And let's fix that. Let's go into interface VLAN 700, and I'm going to shut it down administratively. Now, if I do a show IP interface brief for VLAN 700, we're going to say that it is, or we see that it is administratively down. Let's fix that. All we would do is go into interface VLAN 700, and we would do a no shutdown command. We can confirm it with another show IP interface brief. VLAN 700, it is now in the up state. That's a real easy way to bring an interface that was administratively shut down. That's a real easy way to bring it back up, just like we do it on a router.